Hello, true duelists. It's YGO Strat's Yu-Gi-Oh! Single Card History, where I'm going to be taking a look at some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years, and some of the other ones that just didn't. Today's card, the Link 1 disguised as a fusion monster, Thunder Dragon Colossus. Thunder Dragon Colossus was first released in Soul Fusion in 2018 as a secret rare, with 2 reprints to date as I make this video. First as an Ultimate Rare in OTS Pack 10 in 2019, and again in 2019 as an ultra rare in the 2019 Megatins. For time on the ban list, this bad boy was live at 3 from release until the infamous January 2020 ban list, where it was promptly banned alongside most of the other power cards of TOS format. It has been there ever since, and likely will stay there for a good while, seeing as how insane this card is for both its deck as well as in general, or maybe it'll come back, who knows. Which gameplay-wise is probably good, but for me personally it's bad, because god damn does this dragon look sick. A level 8 Dark Attribute Thunder-type fusion monster with 2600 attack and 2400 defense. Its fusion materials are Thunder Dragon and any Thunder monster, and its effect reads: must either be fusion summoned or special summoned during the turn a Thunder monster effect was activated in the hand by attributing 1 Thunder effect non-fusion monster, in which case you do not use polymerization. Cards cannot be added from the main deck to your opponent's hand except by drawing them. If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 1 Thunder monster from your graveyard instead. Yeah, that's right, it's another fusion monster that gets around the need to have fusion materials in your hand. But unlike other fusion powerhouses such as Shadal or Branded that circumvent the mechanic's weaknesses by sending the materials from the deck, this one lets you link summon it instead. Granted, this isn't a link summon, it's a fusion summon by tributing 1 monster, as long as you've used a Thunder effect in the hand. And if you're wondering how easy that is to pull off, don't worry, because not only does the OG Thunder Dragon from 2002 meet the requirements to cheat this card out, but so does the entire archetype of support that it got in 2018, which Colossus is a part of, quite clearly. Yes, Thunder Dragon got a whole series of support for it to make it its own deck. Thunder Dragon Dark is a card that can discard itself to add another copy of itself from deck to hand. Thunder Dragon Roar can be discarded to add a Thunder Dragon card from your graveyard or banished pile to hand. Thunder Dragon Hawk can be discarded to special summon a Thunder Dragon monster from the grave or banished pile, and Thunder Dragon Matrix can be discarded to give a Thunder monster you control 500 attack, which is 3 monsters with very solid effects in hand alongside Thunder Dragon Matrix to make a competent archetype, especially since they would be worthwhile to use even if you weren't really summoning a mistake on legs as an added bonus for doing so, which you get to. So not only can you recover resources, deck thin, revive monsters, or buff monsters in the battle phase as the world's weakest Kalut, you also get this badass motherfucker right here as the bonus. But it gets even better from here, because not only do all the new Thunder Dragons have effects when discarded, they also have effects that trigger if they're sent from the field to the grave, which does include being tributed as fusion material. What a sentence. Thunder Dragon Dark will add a Thunder Dragon card from deck to hand. Thunder Dragon Roar will summon a Thunder Dragon monster from the deck that's returned to the hand at the end phase, but don't worry, you'll use it as material for something else before the end phase, I can assure you. And Thunder Dragon Matrix can add a copy of itself from deck to hand. And I'm actually not mentioning Thunder Dragon Hawk's effect, because when it's sent from the field to the grave, it mulligans some of your hand, and that sucks and no one uses it for that, so who cares? Which means that just about every Thunder Dragon monster is great to use as either the discard or as the material for the summon of Colossus, whichever is better or easier for the player to do. But don't worry, because it gets even better from here, because the same effects that trigger when Thunder Dragon monsters get sent from the field to the grave also trigger if they're banished as well. This can come up with Colossus on the board, since it has self-protection from destruction by banishing a Thunder monster from your grave, like a pseudo-opposite to Banlanx and Salamangreat. This protection is from battle and card effect, and is not once per turn, which means that if the opponent tries to destroy this card, not only will it do nothing for them, but it can actually make you plus, which is pretty stupid, because they're going to want to destroy this card since, like I said, it's a mistake on legs. And that statement is twofold. Printing this card was a mistake for gameplay reasons, because it's just not fun, and because it's a mistake as in the Floodgate mistake, but in monster form. Except it's not quite mistake, because it's actually better than mistake, because you can still search and plus as much as you'd like with Colossus on your board. It's just the opponent that doesn't get to use any kind of searching mechanic. Its existence on the board prevents opponents from playing, and it lets you plus if they try to remove it. Yeah. Now that is sensible card design. It's safe to say that this card is the reason Thunder Dragon got to play the role of the T in toss format, seeing as the biggest core ban Thunder Dragon saw was the loss of this card, and it has not been meta relevant ever since. Granted, it's not the only card Thunder Dragon lost. Eclipse Wyvern, Fairy Tale Snow, and limiting to Gold Sark all cost the deck consistency and a little bit of strength, but the deck was still able to play without them. Without Colossus, not many people have been playing Thunder Dragon. Sure, it's a fun pet deck, but not competitively. In toss format, Thunder Dragon was a solid deck, and Colossus in particular was a great card in it. Sky Striker, Salamangreat, and Orcust all liked to search to varying degrees, and in particular, preventing engage against Sky Striker was crucial, which this card did allow. It also shut off things like Circle from Salamangreat and shut off the Silent Boots search, or maybe the Orcust Counter Trap search in Orcust matchups, which wasn't bad, but definitely most powerful against Striker, which is another reason to like this card because morally you should not like Sky Striker or the canonically 13-year-old Ray. But toss format isn't only known as toss format, it's also known as eternal format, because man did it last a long time. About mid-2018 through to 2020, really, and during that time, Thunder Dragon as a deck went through a variation or two, adapting to ban lists as well as incorporating new tools that offered some really crazy plays. One of the earliest and best, or at least earliest and most played variants of the deck, was known as Brilliant Thunder Dragon, like this example seen here at the third place list from the Lexana Regional in 2018, piloted by Andrew Deal. The deck played 3 apiece of the Thunder Dragon monsters with discard effects, Battery Man Solar as a Thunder-type Armageddon Knight, and of course Brilliant Fusion for the engine. The deck is notable because unlike most other decks abusing Brilliant Fusion generically, this didn't play Garnet and Seraphonite, instead playing Gem Knights Amber and Prismora, which both saw play solely for their typing, Thunder. This meant they served as fusion material, if nothing else, able to be tributed for Colossus or banished for its protection, and Prismora especially could be used to summon out Titan, Thunder Dragon's other fusion monster that could pop cards, able to be cheated out itself by banishing a Thunder monster in a hand, and any Thunder fusion monster on the field, namely Prismara. The deck was a competent one and ultimately the first nail in the coffin for Brilliant Fusion before its inevitable banning. The deck's dark and light attributes also made it incredibly easy to splash in any other solid Chaos card or engine that players liked, and so Chaos Thunder Dragon was another variant people liked to play, with one list making it all the way to top 4 at YCS Niagara in 2018, piloted by Jake Quincy. This didn't do much unique with Colossus specifically, but it does show a popular tech that would become more common, main decking a copy of Darklist Diablos, Lord of the Lair. This card has synergy with Colossus, funny enough, able to summon itself from the graveyard if a monster you control is tributed, and since Colossus doesn't send to the graveyard to link summon itself out, it tributes the monster. That means Colossus could get out Diablos from the grave for free, which meant you could rip a card from the opponent's hand going first with its own effect, use it as a 3k beater on your board, and in future decks as an Xyz material, which is pretty damn nifty. This was the case for Thunder Dragon players for about a year or so, Brilliant or Chaos, but the next contender and the one that would finally win a YCS title for the deck by the one and only Jesse Cotton would come in Knoxville in 2019. Playing the updated list that Thunder would become known for, the deck was fit to add in a number of new toys as well as some classic cards for the Dragons to abuse. Still using the Diablos combo, the deck would go on to play Sekka's Light, meaning deck builds commonly looked at 37 monsters minimum with 3 copies of Discount Pot of Greed. It used the then newer Danger monsters as material for easy link climbing, as well as Crusadia and Guard Dragon packages, all capable at producing some truly insane end boards. It's kind of the pinnacle of what Yugi Doomers feel Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. Its end boards could have enough negates and usually a copy, or even maybe 2 depending, of Colossus to prevent the opponent from playing entirely. After its YCS win, it was essentially the build players like to use most, with Danger, Crusadia, Thunder, Guard Dragon serving as the deck's name, second in length only to the amount of time it took with its turns. Some players did opt to not play the Sekka's Light build specifically, preferring the plays offered by copies of Allure of Darkness or Gold Sark over the Greedy Pot of Greed, but after this, our big bad dragon would be banned in January of 2020, and the deck stopped seeing play competitively. No small part of why this card has stayed banned isn't just the fact that it is a one-sided mistake, mistake, but the fact that it's so generic, really. Sure, it needs thunders, but it can be summoned using any thunder-type monster, if any thunder-type monster uses an effect in hand. That includes, say, Nemesis Corridor, a thunder monster that in hand can shuffle a banished monster into your deck and then summon itself to the field, which yes, will meet the conditions to summon Colossus while giving you the material to summon the Colossus all by itself for free. Just gotta have a banished monster, and I'm sure that's hard to do. This never really saw play in the TCG, with the card not being released until 4 months after we lost the boy, but it was a worry at the time and is a showcasing of how Colossus can restrict card design moving forward by limiting what types of thunder monsters can be made without giving access to Colossus. Granted, this is fully doable in both the OCG and in Master Duel, but it's still pretty brutal considering how generic that can be. Plenty of decks like to banish things, and as to whether it could come back now, I mean, honestly, probably, yeah. I don't think it would break the meta or anything. It's not by itself stronger than Tearlament, and based on Thunder Dragon's lack of performance without it, it is more or less Thunder Dragon as a deck by itself. That being said, I don't know if I want it back, and I bought myself a pretty little metal field center of this thing. I love it visually, and I selfishly love playing Thunder Dragon as the deck of choice in toss format when I play that. But I can recognize that this thing is not fun to play against. The last duel I had against my friend Adam was playing Thunder Dragon, and I could see in his eyes he did not care to continue playing Yu-Gi-Oh! While I was playing that deck, and I'm sure a number of people share that exact same sentiment. It's a floodgate with self-protection, and that's not exactly the definition of fun for most people. Can it come back? Probably. Should it? How much are we really missing out on without having it? That's a matter of opinion. You can have yours, I have mine. Overall, Colossus is a powerhouse of a card. A modern spin on the Contact Fusion. Its tribute to summon itself is incredibly easy to get it out, to the point where it's as easy as making a Link 1, giving it its nickname of sorts. Its ability to stun the opponent from searching is one of the strongest effects you can give to a monster that's not just a negate, able to shut off a core aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just by being on the field, and it's only one-sided. That, coupled with its protection from destruction, meant it wasn't always easy to get rid of, and can help you plus if the opponent were to even try. It kept Thunder Dragon relevant as long as it was playable, and if it does come back to the TCG, you can be sure it'll be teched into something to see play in some future meta as a threat, be it through a Thunder Dragon deck, or an engine, or a splashable monster like Nemesis Corridor. Either way, this card as an extra deck accessible mistake on legs means it will always be a good card, even if it isn't always meta relevant. And so, that's our look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, Thunder Dragon Colossus. Stay tuned for our next video, and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like, and as always, subscribe to YGO Strats to impress your smokin' Italian wife, and so you too can be a true duelist.